Headline: Water dowsing in arid regions. Report on a 10-year German government project, based on the article published in the Journal of Scientific Exploration, Stanford University, Stanford, California, USA, March 27, 1995. In an article published in the peer-reviewed Journal of Scientific Exploration, a science journal, with the editorial offices at Stanford University, Professor Hans-Dieter Betz, a physicist at the University of Munich, presents the results of a German government-sponsored program to test and apply dowsing methods to locate water sources in arid regions. This 10-year project involved over 2,000 drillings in Sri Lanka, Zaire, Kenya, Namibia, Yemen, and other countries, and is thus the most ambitious experiment with water dowsing ever carried out. Many studies of dowsing applications have been made over the past century or so, but such research has always been vulnerable to insidious skeptical criticism, pseudoskepticism, that their evidence was too biased or too anecdotal to be offered as definitive scientific proof of the efficacy of dowsing, while an adequate water supply is not a major problem in most industrialized nations. It is estimated that water pollution is responsible for some 80% of all diseases in third world countries. Lack of high-quality drinking water affects approximately 2 billion people on a worldwide scale, and is a problem that is growing. According to the United Nations, the enormity of this problem led the German government to initiate a long-range program via the GTZ, Deutsche Gesellschaft für technische Zusammenarbeit, or German Association for Technical Cooperation, to explore innovative water detection methods in arid regions. Motivated by both the high cost and modest success rate of purely conventional hydrogeological methods, the GTZ project teamed geological experts, experienced dowsers, and a scientific group led by Professor Betz, to monitor and evaluate the results, and principally, the achievements of an engineer on the GTZ project management staff, Hans Schroeder, who was also a water diviner of proven ability, who could locate deep or shallow groundwater sources with pinpoint accuracy, and also determine their depth and their potential yield prior to drilling. Without detailed geological knowledge of the areas he was working in, Schroeder worked alongside professional hydrogeologists on a variety of groundwater development projects in Sri Lanka, the Philippines, the Dominican Republic, Congo, Niger, Yemen, the Cape Verde Islands, Kenya, Namibia, and the Sinai Peninsula in Egypt, to locate over 2,000 boreholes with staggeringly high project success rates of 80% to 96%, even in these desert and semi-desert areas, where the comparable conventional methods achieved much lower success rates of only 10% to 50%. Statistical evaluation of Schroeder's ability in a controlled experiment was made in a direct comparison with the efforts of an expert hydrogeology and geophysics team. Targets for minimum individual borehole yield and total yield were set, and under these tough goal-oriented test conditions, Hans Schroeder proved to be more successful than the hydrogeology team, by a factor of 4x. Science has got to wake up and take notice. When one man, with relatively little geological knowledge, his humble faith, and his divining rod, can pinpoint and assess groundwater aquifers with fourfold greater accuracy than the best efforts of a professional team of geoscientists, and a heap of expensive geophysical equipment. Dowsing was proved to be effective in all geological environments, especially in regions of crystalline igneous and metamorphic rocks, where groundwater is confined almost exclusively to narrow fracture zones that cannot be located with any reliability by conventional geoscientific methods except at great expense, and after drilling a significant number of unproductive test bores. The study makes repeated observations that Schroeder and other competent water diviners were consistently able to identify from a distance, then pinpoint and assess fresh groundwater sources in terms of exact location, depth range, and potential yield with a degree of accuracy far beyond the capability of even the best geophysical instruments and most educated hydrogeological guesswork. The outcome was striking. An overall success rate of 96% by dowsers was achieved in 691 drillings in Sri Lanka. Based on geological experience in that area, a success rate of 30 to 50% would be expected from conventional techniques alone. But the overall success rate is not the only indication that the dowsing phenomenon is of considerable practical use. According to Betts, what is both puzzling but enormously useful is that in hundreds of cases the dowsers were able to predict the depth of the water source and the yield of the well to within 10 to 20%. We carefully considered the statistics of these correlations, and they far exceeded lucky guesses. Numerous conventional explanations for the success of dowsing located drill sites were carefully examined by Betts, in a series of reports summarized in the article. Virtually all of the drill sites were in regions where the odds of finding water by random drilling were extremely low, thus eliminating the success by chance hypothesis. Another argument sometimes advanced is that dowsers get subtle clues from the landscape and geology, perhaps without even being consciously aware of their highly developed detective skills. This too was ruled out in various ways, the most impressive being the ability of dowsers to locate underground sources, often 100 feet down, whose streams are so narrow that misplacing the drill site by a few feet would yield a dry hole. Such precision is far beyond any known geological indicators. Betts conjectures that there may be subtle electromagnetic gradients resulting from the fissures and water flows creating changes in the electrical properties of rock and soil. The dowsers somehow sense these gradients in a hypersensitive state? Says Betts, I'm a scientist, and those are my best plausible scientific hypotheses at this point. But there are two things that I am certain of after 10 years of field research. A combination of dowsing and modern hydrogeophysical techniques can be both more successful and far less expensive than we had thought. And we need to run a lot more tests, because we have established that dowsing works. The actual article was published in the Journal of Scientific Exploration, Stanford University by Hans-Dieter Betts, 1995. The publishers of the Betts report are Deutsche Gesellschaft für technische Zusammenarbeit, GTZ, GmbH. Daghammarskjaldweg 1-2. Postfach 5180. D65726 Eschborn 1. Germany. The International Library's catalog references Betts, Hans-Dieter, Unconventional Water Detection, Field Tests, of the Dowsing Technique in Dry Zones. 2nd edition, ISBN 3-88085-489-0. Read the full Betts report, published on the net by the Journal of Scientific Exploration, at http://www.jse.com/ check the index list for online sample articles, and click on Unconventional Water Detection. Repeat, we have established that dowsing works. Repeat, we have established that dowsing works. Repeat, we have established that dowsing works.
So, what can we say about this landmark study sponsored by the German government over 10 years in 8 to 10 countries? Many hundreds of holes drilled with pinpoint accuracy at the bidding of dowsers, proven to be 96% and even 98% accurate frequently. Well, it proves one big thing, as they say in the study. Dowsing is resoundingly proven as a real scientific material fact. Have you got that? Dowsing is proven as a scientific materialist fact. And the other conclusion is not going to be liked by a lot of people. That is, it demolishes James Randi's contention. It demolishes James Randi, in fact, who has spent 40 years vociferously denying that dowsing has any validity. He was caught even in the 1960s in a black and white documentary Cheating by Arthur C. Clarke, the science luminary. He had a look at the same data that James Randi did and said a positive signal came out of the numbers proving that dowsing for water worked. significantly above chance, whereas James Randi decided it was a load of cobblers as usual, like he's been doing for 40 years. So the German landmark study demolishes James Randi's standing, his lifelong attempts to do a snow job on ordinary people and tell them that it's mere superstition, that it's just idiomotor response coupled with self-delusion, is utter hogwash, proven by a landmark German government-sponsored study, peer-reviewed at Stanford University. Okay, have you got that? Peer-reviewed by, it's withstood peer review at Stanford University. That is big stuff. Stuff to beat your chest about. Okay? Demolishing James Randi in the process. Which raises the question, why has James Randi spent most of his adult life, some 40 years, possibly even longer, vociferously denying true scientific physical fact? Why has he been a denialist all these times and passing his denialism on to you, his devotees, his followers? Why has he done this all of his life? If you made James Randi one of the leading lights of your life, and millions of his followers have, then you have brought into your life one of the greatest con men of modern times, and this has just been proven by the German government study that proves dowsing is absolutely real and a very productive, material, physical thing to do. So you really got off the rails there following James Randi. He's been the Pied Piper that's led you away from scientific truth in a big way. So if you're one of the many devotees of James Randi, there's really nothing wrong with admiring a public figure, but he's turning out to be more than just a rogue. He's turning out to be a major con man of some proportion in modern history. He's certainly committed a con job in your life if you're a Randi devotee. And what's he done? He's succeeded in telling you something majorly wrong for 40 years and you've believed it. Now his plan is to reduce your life to the bleakest possible battery hen existence, intellectually caged with the smallest amount of intellectual freedom possible. He's been telling you all this time that dowsing isn't real, it's mere superstition, blah, 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 and you've listened to it. You've accepted it, and he's one of the greatest con men of all time now, proven by the German government-sponsored study, peer-reviewed at Stanford University. You might love Randi for a whole lot of emotional reasons, and there's nothing wrong with that. He cuts a kind of admirable figure on the stage, a heroic person battling the figures of darkness, etc. But really, he's conned you all the way down the river, I'm afraid, and he's got you leading the bleakest, most black and white, most skeletal existence possible. He's put you in an intellectual cage, and like a canary, you have sung his praises. You love him, but I question someone doing that to you. Does he love you the way you love him? Is the affection returned? Quite the opposite. He's made you an intellectual prisoner for the last 40 years, and that's a pretty serious thing for a leading figure to do in the public eye. A more fascinating question is, why would James Randi devote his entire adult life to putting you in an intellectual cage? All his devoted followers telling you that dowsing is a load of hogwash when it's scientifically proven to be true. Well, maybe he's paid, maybe he's working for Big Pharma and other corporate interests that want you to lead a simple materialist life so that you consume the most. The object of all the corporatocracies around you, the big corporations, is that you be obedient, you be silent, but you consume as much as possible before you die.